So just 2 weeks ago, my wife gave birth to our little baby boy and things have been a bit hectic. I haven't really done any projects since that. So I thought right now would be a good opportunity to give you guys a little bit of a tour while the shop is clean and nothing is really going on. Now, I've never done one of these shop tour things. It's kind of a trendy woodworker YouTube thing, and I just have never done one, but I thought it would be good to do just so that I have some documentation on what the shop looked like in the year 2022. So in the future, I can look back and be able to reminisce on how the shop has improved. I really actually wish I did one for the last 2 years because the shop has grown significantly in the last 2 years, but I guess it's hindsight. So I'm gonna start in 2022 and hopefully do one every single year. So in this video, I'll give you guys a tour of all of my different tools as well as my dust collection and some of the things that I wish I had done differently, as well as some of the improvements that I'm going to be doing in the future for my shop. Before we get started though, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you'll know when more projects and more videos come out on the channel. I've got a lot of awesome projects actually coming in 2022. To get started, let's head to the front of the shop by the garage door and I'll give you a little bit more information about the layout of my shop. So just to give you an idea of how big the shop is here, it takes place in a 2-car garage, just like most of you weekend warriors. The garage is about 18 feet wide by 18 feet long, and the roof is pretty low. We actually live in a townhome, so right above us is my family room as well as the kitchen. And then above that is all of our bedrooms. It's pretty compact here. The roof is probably about 11 feet tall. It's even smaller in the back of the shop because it has a little bit of a bump down where all of the HVAC, the wiring and piping for the house all runs through. Here's my garage door at the front of the shop. And then this is kind of the right of the shop, and I'll get to what all of this section is in just a sec. But before that, let me turn you left towards the middle of the shop and I'll show you my table saw. So here's my table saw. It's the Laguna Fusion F3. It's a 3 horsepower model. This thing is awesome. I got this thing about 1.5 years ago. It was brand new, and this thing has been a great addition to the shop. Before that, you might see in some of my previous videos, I had a construction style Craftsman table saw. That thing worked really, really well for what I was doing at the time, but this thing has been a great addition to the shop. It's right in the middle of my shop. Like one of the most used phrases, the table saw is the workhorse or the heart of the shop. And so I put mine right here, right in front, so that I can bring material or sheet goods in from the garage and just break them down right on the table saw. It goes up to 36-inch wide table. You can extend it to I believe a 52, but this 36 seems to work for me just fine. So now let's go back over to the right and we'll work our way up the right side of the garage and I'll show you all the different tools and the setup I've got. So right at the right side of the garage here, I've got all of my clamps and my kind of clamping wall. It's all hung up using the modular French cleat system, which is really awesome. I can move this thing and adjust it however I want. You'll see some more French cleat on the other wall over on the other side here. I want to make some changes with some of my French cleat, but this side of the wall, I actually think I'm going to keep it the way it is. It's been really functional. These things are all adjustable, but I might reorganize a little bit, but most of this is going to stay the way it is just because it's been super functional and really easy to use. Then right below all of the clamps, I've got my Jet 6-inch jointer. This thing has been great. I picked it up for about 600 bucks from some guy that was selling it on Craigslist, and it's worked out really, really well. I've replaced the blades one time on them, but it works really, really good. I do have to open the garage sometimes if I'm joining a long board, just because the garage is so close. It's part of having limited space, but you know, everything has worked out really, really well, and I kind of keep it here just because it's really easy, and it's right across from the table saw because you seem to use those a lot simultaneously. Next to the joiner, I've got my shop vac as well as my router table. Now this thing was my favorite build from 2021 and I'm super happy with the way it turned out. If you haven't seen that video, I will tag it in one of the cards above so you can go check it out. But this thing has been awesome. It's got the Jessam router lift in it, and the fence is completely adjustable front and back. It does have a ton of storage, including bit storage, part storage. It's got workbench casters on the side so I can pull it out if I'm working on a bigger piece so it doesn't run into the other joiner and all the other tools. So everything has really been awesome with this router, and I'm super happy with the way that this project turned out. So next on the right side of my shop is my bandsaw. This is the newest addition to the shop. I picked this thing up for 300, 400 bucks from, again, somebody on Craigslist. It is a 14-inch bandsaw, and I'm super happy that I've actually got a big bandsaw, or a bigger bandsaw in my shop besides a little dinky desktop bandsaw that I had before. And then I've got my Jet 1.75 horsepower dust collector here, and it is all plugged in to a dust separator, and it's plugged right into the system all around the shop. I'll show you the piping of it, but this dust collector has been awesome. Now, I did a video on my dust collection system and how I piped everything for it, but just to kind of give you an idea, I've got all of my 4-inch hose kind of going from my dust separator. There's a piece that's gonna come across the wall here. There are 3 different plugins here. I've got one for my bandsaw, one for my router table, and then one for my joiner right there. Then it's all piped up through the wall here. Like I mentioned before, I've got a bump down for the HVAC and piping in our townhome right here. It kind of works out nicely because it kind of conceals it all, but I can't really run any piping that way, which kind of is annoying. But I've run some piping down over to my table saw that connects directly with a blast gate here for my table saw, as well as a blast gate here for my downdraft table that is built into the assembly table, which we'll get to in just a sec. And then there's also some piping that runs down across to a splitter right there that splits into a couple different things. One goes down into a connector that can connect to multiple different tools. I use that mainly for like my planer as well as for my X-carve here. This white tube actually goes to nowhere right now, but it will probably be a floor sweep sometime in the future when I get around to building a floor sweep. Let's head back over to the right side of the garage, and I'll show you the back side where I keep all of my sanding as well as all of my paint and finishing material. So you may have seen this location before in some of my videos. This is kind of the back side of my garage. The back right here is a garage door that leads into the townhome. Here I've got a couple different sanders. I've got a 1 horsepower 2.5-inch sander. Here I've got a spindle sander as well, plus I think this is a 4-inch wide belt sander. In this cabinet here with all of my stickers and everything, I've got all of my finishing products, paints, polyurethanes, and different things that I use. Underneath, this table actually used to be the table that my mini lathe sat on, but I didn't use my mini lathe very often, so I actually removed it and decided to put the sanders here because those guys just kind of sat on the floor and I had to lift them up every time I needed to use them, and I use them more. So I kind of changed that, but these drawers now hold all of the different sandpapers and calipers. And then I've also got my bench top grinder that pulls up from the bottom here. It just sits here if I ever need to sharpen something. I use this very rarely. Now, next to my sanding station here, I've got my flip top cart with my miter saw and my planer. If you haven't checked out this video, make sure you go and check it out. It's the first video I ever put out, and it's actually one of my most popular videos because this cart is awesome. It allows me to be able to use my miter saw, flip it around, use my planer. The wings pop up and they actually go from 90 degrees to flat, so you have an in and out feed for your planer. So like I said, make sure you go and check out that video. I'll link it in a card above so you can check it out. But plans are available if you want to download the plans for this. They're available on my website. So moving on, I should have mentioned we're on the back side of the shop now. And in the back, I've got 3 doors, storage for the house. Our water heater is in here and our furnace is in there. So nothing too exciting. I keep my little mini 8-inch drill press right here. Has a little bit of storage. This drill press I actually got from my dad. It was one of the first tools I ever got, but I keep it here. There's no plug for it, but I'll move it around whenever I need to use it. And then I keep my sawhorses hanging right there. I'll probably end up moving those just because, I don't know, they're kind of ugly right there. So now let's move on to the left side of the house where there is some French cleat storage as well as my CNC machine and some lumber storage. So this part of the shop for me has always been the trouble part of the shop. I just have never known what I wanted to do with it. But I finally decided that I was going to kind of revamp all of my French cleat and make some new holders now that I kind of get an idea of what tools I want to put up there, what are the most functional, and what are the most visually appealing, because after all, this part of the shop is actually going to kind of be a set for me, and I want to make it look pretty nice. So I'm going to revamp this probably in the next video. As you can see, I am a Ryobi fan. I've always liked Ryobi. I purchased them at the beginning just because they were pretty affordable, but I've never had a reason to switch. If you can give me a reason to leave Ryobi, by all means, let me know in the comments what type of tool you use, what brand you swear by. But anyways, I'm gonna reorganize this section to look a lot nicer. You'll probably see a lot more footage of me talking from this part of the garage once I get that all organized. But yeah, we'll reorganize all of this French cleat area. Now, just right of that is my CNC machine. It is the X-Carve from Inventables. I love this machine. I've used it quite a few times. It's probably the most luxurious machine that I have because there's so many things you can do with it. I just need to learn how to use it a little bit more and figure out some different applications for it. I created this stand for it with a pop-out table for my laptop right here, as well as plenty of storage for all of my router bits and CNC parts. It's also got this pull-out tray on the bottom where I keep a laser engraver and all of my filming equipment. I need to kind of reorganize that area a little bit and make it look a little bit nicer. So now we're back at the front of the garage on the left side. This is where I keep all of my lumber, have all my lumber storage racks on top. And then I have this lumber storage cart that I keep all my sheet goods as well as any offcuts. I kind of store in the inside here. If you haven't seen this build, make sure you go check it out as well. I'll make sure I tag it above. And this has been a really good addition to the shop. It's helped me to keep everything kind of organized. I also have some kind of garbage cans that float around on these wheels throughout the shop, which is really nice. Instead of having one stationary bin somewhere that you got to truck offcuts across the shop into, these things kind of just float around with me as I'm working on projects. One thing that I didn't show is kind of what is above us. I want to show you my lighting as well as some different storage shelves that I've done here in the garage. So if you look above, you'll see all of my lighting here. They're just these LED strips. They're super inexpensive and you get a lot for what you pay for. These things are awesome and I've had them since I started kind of working out here in the garage. Lighting is actually really good here. There's a small dark spot just over here by my lumber rack, but that's not a big deal. Other than that, I do have storage bins because this is a garage after all, and I do have to store some stuff from the house here in the garage. So these storage bins are hung up using kind of these little racks and they slide on. I've made a video about how to do this and it is actually my most popular video. I don't have a couple of the bins up right now because we're organizing some different things, but most of the stuff is going to be like Christmas stuff or summer stuff, and they're really easy to take down. You just get a ladder, get up there and pull them down and then use what you need to out of them. Other than that, I do have some storage bins above my CNC machine, as well as by the router table and the bandsaw, but they've held up really, really well. I actually made these probably first out of anything here in the shop. I knew that we were gonna need storage when we first moved in, and that was kind of my first project when I first moved in here. Now, last but certainly not least is my outfeed assembly table. This thing is probably the thing in the shop that I am most proud of. This assembly table is completely designed and created by me. This thing has a ton of T-track, downdraft table, a ton of storage on the front. Around the side here, I hold my air compressor and all my air compressor parts. Around the side there, I've got small parts containers. Yeah, this thing is awesome. So make sure you go check out the video for this build. It's actually a 2-part video, but I do have plans available for this as well. So make sure you go check them out. They'll be linked in the description below. The video will be linked above right now. So make sure you go and check out this outfeed table. It really has improved my shop. And I mean, this is where I spend most of my time doing anything, is right here on this outfeed table. So obviously I better be happy with it or else I'm in big trouble. So there you have it. There's the layout for the Salt City Workshop in 2022. If you guys have any questions about my layout, about my work process and workflow here, let me know. If you have any comments on how I can improve the layout that I have, let me know as well. Obviously, I want to make this as fluid and productive of a shop as I can. So any advice that you guys have, I'd love to take it and see if it would work for me here in the shop. Again, make sure you subscribe. I've got some great projects coming up in the next couple weeks. Like I said, I'm going to be tackling the French cleat next. But after that, I've got a ton of other projects as well that are coming up and are going to be super fun. So make sure you subscribe so you'll always know when those launch on the channel. Other than that, that's it. So like I always say, thanks for watching and never stop creating.